up at Fenway in Boston. They're bottom of the third inning, and the Twins lead the Red Sox 2-0 on a two-run double by Kirby Puckett. Now, last night, Boston made it 6 straight wins, so they are now 5.5 in front of Toronto, 8.5 in front.
$8.
Which leads us, appropriately enough, to the latest edition of the Wild and Wacky in the world of baseball over the past month, is compiled, as always, by our crack staff, what we call the Albert Achievement Awards. We opened with some outstanding defensive plays. Here's Bill Buckner of the Red Sox with the drive. Joe Carter of Cleveland on the run and makes the catch. Tim Raines of Montreal does it with the backhand, and Raines able to hold on. Chet Lemon of Detroit with the leaping grab, pulling off Robbery. And here is Darrell Boston of the White Sox first to his left, and Boston does it going to his right. At a minor league game in Denver, Omaha pitcher Keith Cato about to throw to the plate, but watch this. The sprinkler system goes off by accident. The players can't believe it. An unscheduled shower at Mile High Stadium in Denver. This a month of lack of concentration. Cliff Johnson of Toronto taking the pitch outside, so trots down to first with great confidence. One problem, that was only ball 3. Come on back, Cliff. And how about Reggie Jackson with this towering drive? It nearly carried out, but it stays in play. You'll see the base runner, Brian Downing, attempting to score. Here's the relay. Now Downing is thrown out. Back to Reggie, who figures inning over, third out. Wrong, an embarrassing moment. That was only out number 2, and Jackson in trouble, and he's retired in the rundown. He doubled into a double play. Some intriguing throws the past month. Off the blue pit that falls in between Glenn Braggs and Ernest Riles. Base hit, watch the left fielder, Braggs at Milwaukee. Return throw, guns it a bit off the mark. Double play ball. Keep your eye on the Houston second baseman, Bill Dorn. He goes off the helmet of Manny Trio, and the ball carries over the dugout. Trio able to score. We close with some special moments. What's John Kruk of the Padres doing? Looking for the proper aroma? The batter, Kevin McReynolds of San Diego, with the foul back right through the hole of the TV camera location. Off the fly ball. Watch the catch by Len Dykstra of the Mets. Loses his glove, but the ball stays in the glove. Dykstra says, that's an out. The rules say, no, it isn't. In contrast, this is an out. An extraordinary play. Rookie pitcher Terry Mulholland of the Giants with the ball stuck in the webbing, so throws the glove and ball to first to get Keith Hernandez. And that was a legal move, one of the weird plays of this 1986 season. And we're just about set for baseball. Many of you will see the Mets and the Padres from here at Shea. Some of you will see the Cardinals and the Astros from the Astrodome in Houston. I'm Marv Albert. Thanks for looking in. Stay tuned for baseball here on NBC.
Investors flock to foreign stocks on Strictly Business tonight at 7.
They are as different as the backgrounds that spawned them. The Colossus of Rhodes, named Dwight Gooden from Florida. The left-hander from the land of the bean and the cod by way of Los Angeles, Bobby Ojeda. The big, gentle Hawaiian, far removed from a surfboard, Sid Fernandez. And from the ivy-covered walls of Yale, Ron Darling. They are the 4 kings of the Mets on their way to their coronation in the fall.
The National Broadcasting Company, now in its 6th decade of bringing you baseball's memories. Baseball's milestones. Baseball's majesty. And baseball's magical moments. NBC Sports proudly presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week. Today from Shea Stadium, it's the San Diego Padres versus the New York Mets. The Game of the Week is brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By IBM and the growing family of IBM personal computers. By Certainty, manufacturer of America's finest quality of home insulation. And by Miller Lite. For great taste, there is only one light beer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Welcome to Shea Stadium in New York, where Andy Hawkins will go for San Diego, Ron Darling for the New York Mets. Yes, Shea is the home of the New York Mets, and for all intents and purposes, it's certainly been our home for most of the summer, as we follow the story, the successful story of the New York Mets, vintage 1986. But there's another story today, and maybe we need Gibbons to write the decline and fall, not of the Roman Empire, but of the empire that was San Diego. The Padres, only 2 years removed from the World Series, surrounded and practically buried by controversy. And certainly one of the questions that arises out of the ashes of '86, how can you lead the league in hitting with controversy swirling around your ears every day? That's a question for Tony Gwynn to answer, and to ask it and find out a little bit more, let's go to Joe.
Okay, Ben. Tony, how do you manage to have the kind of year you're having with all the turmoil that surround your ball club?
Well, it's a business, Joe. You have to go out there and produce year in and year out, and that's how I go about it.
What about the blast that Goose Gossage had first about the beer and then the Ballard Smith situation? What was it like in the clubhouse?
Oh, there was a little bit of turmoil in the clubhouse. A lot of guys weren't happy with it, but, you know, it's something I think that can be worked out, and hopefully both sides can get together again and get it done.
There were reports that the ball club was talking about boycotting, walking out.
No chance of that. When we met that morning, everybody wanted to play. There wasn't any thought about walking out or anything.
You were pretty outspoken in the Tim Raines situation because it was out of San Diego that Ballard Smith said, well, he had a drug problem. We don't want a player like that and no multi-year contracts. What bothered you most, the drug-related story or the multi-year contract?
I think the drug thing. Matter of fact, I'm sure it was. It was the drug part of it because, you know, here's a guy who's been the most productive player in the National League over the last 4 years and had a problem but got it squared away and seems to be doing very well with it. And just the thought of us not being able to even go after a guy like that, I think, really disappointed a lot of us.
Tony, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Tony Gwynn. We'll be back with the starting lineups right after these messages.
Hey, did you guys see who's playing tonight?
Oh, wow, they're fantastic.
But we gotta go out with Mom and Dad.
Yeah, but those guys are outrageous.
I'd love to see them, but...
Hey, why don't we bring them?
Great idea.
Bring them.
Great game. Thanks, kids.
No problem getting them to take us to the next baseball game.
Major League Baseball, a family tradition.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
On a beautiful day in New York, here's the way San Diego stacks up offensively. Leading off at second base, Tim Flannery, followed by the league's leading hitter, Tony Gwynn. Out of West Virginia, the left fielder, John Kruk. And in center field, Kevin McReynolds. At first base, Steve Garvey. And behind the plate, Terry Kennedy. Greg Nettles returns to New York. He has long since left the Yankee pinstripes. Templeton will be the shortstop and the pitcher, Andy Hawkins.
Defensively, it's Wilson in left field, Dykstra and Strawberry. You know what that outfield can do. Dykstra covers a lot of ground. Knight's the third baseman. Elster, a youngster they brought up so he can get him ready for postseason play should they need him. They maneuvered a little bit with the pitching staff, which we'll go into a little bit later. Backman, Hernandez, Carter's behind the plate, and Ron Darling. And Darling seems to be Dave Johnson's target. He doesn't want him to nibble, Vin, just throw strikes.
Well, he has been doing that of late. He is 12-5, a good ERA. No record with the Mets, 3-0 lifetime. And Tim Flannery starts it off and takes ball one. Flannery, the elder statesman, he leads San Diego in continuous service. He's the only player who has been with the Padres since the 70s, actually 1979. And Flannery, with an 11-game hitting streak, was the player representative of the San Diego Padres. But he said that as player rep, the grievances got to him, and that his grievances began to affect his play. He resigned as player representative, and Dave Dravecki, the left-hander, who was out with a sore elbow, is now the player rep. 1-2. Hit foul down the left field line, out of play. And we can keep tabs on a couple of others. Minnesota leading the Red Sox 2-0 in the 5th inning. We'll watch that closely for you. Toronto is at Chicago. 2-2.
Watching Flannery in batting practice, he just hits that ball right up the middle to the opposite field, and if Darling keeps that ball out there, that outside corner, you'll see him go that way.
Fastball hit to straightaway center. Lenny Dykstra is there. One down, and now the league's leading hitter, Tony Gwynn, coming up. The Padres, with all of their other problems, have also had a lot of problems scoring. The league's leading hitter batting .336, and yet the Padres have scored 2 runs or less in 49 games. The Mets have had that happen in 28 games. That's a big difference. Strike. The Padres looked, to be honest, like they were going to win the Western Division. They were a game and a half back on the 25th of June, and they looked like Steve Boros and company had all the talent to go. And then they started to stumble. They were 3 games out after the break, and they lost 18 out of 25 and sank without leaving an oil slick. Ground ball fair inside first and down the line. Gwynn on his way for 2. Darryl Strawberry up with the ball, and Tony Gwynn, the league's leading hitter, doubles into the right field corner.
Then when you talk about the home runs and the correlation as far as runs scored, you watch a guy like Gwynn now who gets the double, and it looks like he hits the ball that's inside, pulls it right down the line. They are not able, you could oversimplify the whole thing by saying, well, they don't have team speed, but the point I'm trying to make is that they don't pick up a base with an out. Here's a perfect example of it now. Can they score the man from second base? And if Kruk does go out, do they pick up a base?
John Kruk, a good hitter, but in a slump and struggling for about the last 6 or 7 games. He's the kid out of West Virginia, and even with his slump, as you can see, he's hitting .308.
He can hit. He can hit.
Yeah, the Padres feel that he's going to become one of the outstanding hitters in the league. He's got a great number. He's wearing a number that was worn with great distinction by people like Willie McCovey and Henry Aaron. 44. Darling wants to talk to Carter.
Gives me a chance. I talked to young Kruk, and he really is a delightful young man. And talking about the slump, the thing he's concerned about is that front shoulder. He said, I've just been flying out with it. I've got to keep that front shoulder in there. And he's a free swinger. In fact, I like his attitude. When somebody knocked him down, Bed Rosen, the other day, and he came up laughing, and he said, well, he didn't knock me down. He almost hit me in the head, but he didn't knock me down. You got to like that.
When they got to Chicago, he looked out of the bus window at Lake Michigan, and he said, what ocean is that? 1-1. Strike 2, 0-2. Now they said to him, well, now you've been around the league. Yeah, he said, I know that Lake Michigan isn't the Mediterranean. So he's learning.
Oh, I tell you, he's something. He can hit. He can hit, though.
Kruk trying to pick up Gwynn at second base. 1 out in the first inning, no score. Got him.
At that time at bat, he only took 1 swing. That's the sign of being in the slump. I mean, when he's hacking and whacking, he gets at least 3 swings. But he just took 1 swing. Watch that front shoulder. Does he let it out too soon? Stayed with it.
Yeah,
just didn't hit the ball.
Just fooled by the pitch, and down he goes. So John Kruk learning his way in the big leagues. 2 down, and Kevin McReynolds the batter. McReynolds hitting .288. He's been a big RBI man of late for San Diego. Ball one. McReynolds with 21 home runs, 74 RBIs. Although there are a lot of people who feel somehow you got to light a fire under him. He's such a great talent. Those 21 home runs are career high for him. Strike.
Not to belabor the point, Vin, but again, all that hitting and not scoring, Gwynn is still at second base and 1 out. Did not pick up the base with the out.
Well, they're last. You know, in fact, that's a big battle going on in Southern California. The Dodgers and the Padres are tied for last. Strike two. So you had the Dodgers battling in the league championships in '85. The Padres battling the Tigers in the World Series in '84. And there they are with the wine steward.
In the cellar.
Steve Boros having a tough year with the Pods. 1 ball and 2 strikes to count to Kevin McReynolds. Darling's had as many as 12 strikeouts in a game. Ron, a 12-game winner, lost his last time out to the Dodgers. Foul ball.
When statistics don't seem to tell the true story, Vin, and statistics will tell you most of the time what's happening, I look at 2 things. Number 1, picking up that base. Number 2, the outfield. Can they keep that double play in order? If they're not keeping it in order, you're in trouble. And that could be the case with these Padres.
Darling going 1 and 2 to Kevin McReynolds. Fastball in the dirt. Nice save by Carter. 2 and 2. The outfield fanned out Mookie Wilson very deep, and something new here at Shea Stadium, right in left field on the wall. It's also in right. A September to remember. Well, they're trying to win their 90th game today. Great play by Darling, and that's that. And it might have been a pitch outside. I think the bat cracked. He hit it off the end of the wood. No score, half an inning.
This guy thinks he makes a better Bob Uecker than I do. Bingo! See, you can't imitate the old Uke just like you can't imitate Miller Lite. All these fans, I love them. Hey, Light is still the only leading beer with a third less calories than the regular beer and a great taste, too.
Let's go, fella.
Oh, I must be in the front row. Imitations don't make it.
You can't copy an original. There's only one light beer, Miller Lite.
You ever see my John Wayne?
The New York Mets have won 89 games, the best mark at this point of the season in their history. And here's their lineup today. Len Dykstra opening up in center field, and Wally Backman at second base. Keith Hernandez at first. Gary Carter, who came off the disabled list Monday, behind the plate. Darryl Strawberry in right field. Mookie Wilson in left. Ray Knight hitting 7th at third. Young Kevin Elster just brought up from Jackson. He's the shortstop. And Ron Darling, the pitcher.
Kruk, McReynolds, and Gwynn. And Gwynn, I tell you, is underrated as an outfielder because he gets so much publicity with his bat, but he has really made himself a good outfielder. Nettles and Templeton, you know about. Flannery and Garvey on the other side. Kennedy behind the plate. Hawkins, who throws a fastball, slider, and a cut fastball. There he is, and I'm sure he'll be getting a chance to feel his position with these guys leading off in.
And how? And the big guy ready, and here we go with Lenny Dykstra. Ball 1. Hawkins was an 18-game winner last year, and he's a Jekyll and Hyde. At home, he has won 6 and lost only 1. On the road, 3 and 7. Fouled away. And the Mets can't wait to get at him. Not only is Dykstra in the box, Backman and Hernandez are both in the on-deck circle, and for pretty good reason. The Mets starting 8, discounting Ron Darling, are hitting almost .340 collectively against Andy Hawkins. That must be like a piece of meat and lions coming out of the dugout when they can't wait to get at you.
Hernandez was in the on-deck circle first, and he's batting third in the lineup. He went right over there, and he and Backman now are just talking about Hawkins. He's ready. He's an anxious hitter, and when you can hit like him, why not be anxious?
So here they come. The Mets have won 7 of their last 9. 1 and 2. A busted bat and a little flare to left field for a base hit.
When you're going good, you're going good. He broke his bat, flooped one in there, and I mean, it snapped right off in his hands. The bat ended up between first and second. Watch it. It looks like it's that cut fastball. Hits it off the end of the bat. Look at that bat fly out there. And now, of course, with Dykstra on, you got a possible steal. You got a hit-and-run situation.
Lenny Dykstra, who is in the top 10 and hitting close to 300. And now we'll have Backman, Hernandez, and Carter trying to move him around. And Hawkins has to worry about Dykstra. He leads the Mets with 28 stolen bases.
I think I'd pitch out on the first one just to let him know I'm thinking about it.
Sure.
Yeah, that tells me something.
It's interesting to see Wally Backman here with Tony Gwynn in the same game while we watch Len Dykstra. Because Backman would have a chance at the batting crown. You need 502 plate appearances. Now, Wally Backman would have to average a little more than 4 plate appearances in the remaining 30 games to be eligible for the batting championship. And the question is, with the Mets breezing, would Davy Johnson try to play him against all comers? He is a switch hitter. Would you play him against all comers, hoping he could win the batting crown? Or would you then worry about Tim Tuffle going idle and the league championship series just around the corner? And, of course, Davy Johnson says naturally the team comes first. But it's an interesting thought, especially playing Gwynn. A good bunt by the mound. Flannery, too late.
Flannery really makes a good play on this bunt. He couldn't have played it any better than he did. He barehands the ball, shovels it. Garvey sees it all the way. Couldn't get much on the throw, and here's why the Mets are so tough. The little nits and gnats, the fleas and the mosquitoes get on. Here come the Lions and the Tigers now.
And Hawkins saying to himself, this club is hitting .340 against me, and they start off with a broken bat single and a bunt single.
And they got you pitching off the stretch from the very first batter.
And I know why Hernandez was out on deck even ahead of the leadoff man. He's hitting .500 against Andy Hawkins. So 2 on, nobody out in the first inning. Hernandez, Carter, and Strawberry in that order. Pull up a chair. We're just starting out. Hernandez has hit in 18 of his last 20. Right.
It looks like they expect Hernandez to pull that ball. Center fielder McReynolds shading a bit in right center. A lot of room in left center field, and Keith does have good power right out in that alley. So Hawkins really has to pitch to make him pull that ball.
Dykstra at second, Backman at first, nobody out. Grounded foul, jammed him too.
He was going that way. I mean, he had made up his mind he's going to go that way, and Hawkins came inside, but you could see that inside-out swing and just jammed him. I mean, it's a battle between a good hitter and knowing the pitcher.
0-2 the count to Keith, who was right up there amongst the leaders in about 6 different offensive categories. 0-2. He also leads the league in walks. So he's a tough customer any way you look at him. Keith Hernandez. You go back for the last month, he's hitting about .380. Fouled away.
You may have noticed on that last shot how Hernandez chucks those knuckles. It's a old baseball thing. Some hitters do it. They line up the knuckles, and if you feel that way, then do it. Watch, he'll check it with the... There's his swing, a classic swing, but as he gets in the box, that's what he'll do, is check him.
So it's still no balls and 2 strikes.
Watch him now, before he gets set. There he goes.
0-2 to Keith Hernandez. First inning, no score. Boy, he'd just wear you out.
Oh, he's just a solid hitter.
You get sick and tired of looking at him if you're the pitcher.
How about the catcher? Interesting thing, 2 strikes, no balls. He's not really working on him, try to set up a pitch. He's coming right at him with 2 strikes.
0-2. He just keep fouling them off till you run out of balls. Boy, he must have been terrible on a sand lot.
Oh, he wouldn't let him play all the time.
No, not you.
No, not you.
Don't have enough balls. Hernandez has over 1,800 hits in his career. And he's thinking about trying to stay around for 3,000. He's 32 years old, and he said he went to Billy Williams. And he said, Billy, when did you really start to lose it? Williams said, when I was 37. So that encourages him. He figures, okay, I got at least 5 more years before I start to lose it. Foul ball.
Of course, those guys, they hit 320, 330, and if they hit 305, they think they're losing it.
Yeah, I'm losing it. You look at the Mets' home uniforms, they're going to have a change next year on the road. It's not going to say Mets on the 87 road uniform. It's going to say New York, but they don't want to be mixed up with the Yankees, the block lettering New York. So it's going to be in script. Time call by the plate umpire, Bob Engel. Paul Runge at first, Dave Pallone at second, Steve Ripley on the line at third. And Andy Hawkins in a jam. Hernandez followed by Carter and Strawberry.
He doesn't have that many pitches. He's got enough. What he's trying to do is shake him around.
2-2. There they are. That's Carter. And Strawberry waiting back of him in the dugout. So Andy Hawkins, 6'3", close to 230. Strawberry is sizing him up. Changeup, and he drives it into left center, going over his crop to make the catch, and the runners will hold. A wide throw, third base kind of wide open. 3 men were more or less backing up, but still Dykstra had nowhere to go.
That's the inexperience of young Kruk out there. If you're going to make the throw to either side of the base, at least aim for the infield side of it. He's trying to find out what's going on. It's all sail is what he's saying.
So 1 away, 2 on, no score. And here's Gary Carter coming up. Gary on the disabled list with a bad thumb. He came off on Monday. And he has another opportunity for an RBI. He's been very consistent. 17 ribbies in his last 17 games. Ball 1. And that's where he stands in the league behind Big Dave Parker and then Mike Schmidt. Glenn Davis out for a while anyway with a problem in Houston. High pop fly back of second base. Templeton going out. Now the infield fly rule. 2 down. And Darryl Strawberry coming up as Carter has a big chance and lets it get away.
It's like that cut fastball. He had his pitch, and you can see Carter's reaction. He knew he had to pitch and just popped it up.
Darryl Strawberry, who is struggling, he's had just 3 hits in his last 25 at-bats. He's up there now with 2 on and 2 out, no score. First inning. Darryl with 100 career home runs. That puts him in the Mets record book along with Dave Kingman and Ed Kranepool. High foul off third, out of play. 0-2.
You could see Kennedy emphasizing, keep that ball down. Keep it down. Pointing now to second base, and runners getting a pretty good lead. I thought that when he was delivering to Strawberry, and he just keep an eye on him, but don't lose your concentration by watching him.
The Mets have given the Padres a bad time this year. They've beaten them 7 out of 9. They were rained out last night. They'll play a doubleheader tomorrow. 0-2 to Darryl Strawberry. Still 0-2. In putting up those signs here, a September to remember. Naturally, they have a big date with Houston in the League Championship Series, it would appear. And the Mets have already received 800 media requests to cover the League Championship Series. 800. Busted bat, deflected by Hawkins to Flannery, who gets him. So 1-4-3 on the jam job. 2 base hits and 2 left, and at the end of an inning, no score. We're going to the second inning here at Shea Stadium in New York on a beautiful day. We told you that the Mets have given the Padres a bad time, winning 7 out of 9. Watch this, a base hit up the middle. That looks like it should score Gary Templeton. The throw comes to the plate. And Templeton is going to be out in a collision. Now Flannery, who hit the ball, rounds second, and he's going to go to third. And Flannery is out. So a base hit to center. 2 men are out at third and home, and the Mets won the game in 11 innings, 6-5. And that was despite the fact that Tony Gwynn in that game threw out 3 runners all by himself. When those kind of things happen, you know the other clubs really got your number.
They've got it.
Steve Garvey, followed by Terry Kennedy and then Greg Nettles. High drive into deep left field. Mookie Wilson back on the track at the wall. Gone upstairs.
Case of Darden and Carter trying to get ahead of Garvey. Just wouldn't let him. Looked like a fastball right down the middle. And he just jumps all over it.
For Garvey, his 21st home run, 75 RBIs. And it's the first time he has hit 20 home runs since he hit 26 for the Dodgers back in 1980. Take another look.
Carter's target's right down the middle, and there it was, and there it goes.
And now Terry Kennedy at the plate, and he fouls it back 0-1. Terry Kennedy has slumped badly in one particular area, as you see Garvey getting the applause in the dugout. Kennedy's had as many as 98 RBIs in his career, but it has come down more and more, and this year he has only 40-some odd, 47 RBIs to be exact. He went from a month without an RBI after the All-Star break.
His is the one name that keeps popping up when they talk about Jack McKeon going to make a lot of trades because they have a young Santiago ready.
2-2. Left-hand hitting catcher, that's quite a find. But when you look at those RBIs we talked about, he had 97 in 82, 98 in 83. Slow ground ball to Wally Backman. 1 away.
Number 9.
Greg Nettles coming up, 1-0 in favor of the Padres. There is so much more to this game, of course. So much more, indeed, to the San Diego story than the final score. Padres leading 1-0 in the second, and here's Greg Nettles, former Yankee, of course, who had so many great years in New York. The Padres started, after all, 1984, they were in the World Series. But then in 85, they had Alan Wiggins and that problem, and that was the first wisp of smoke that something was going to happen to the organization. Since that time, there was the brouhaha, and no pun intended, about the banning of beer in the clubhouse. The front office publicly criticized players for not hustling. Line drive, base hit into left field. The front office announced it would only offer 1-year contracts unless players agreed to accept drug testing clauses.
Shortstop.
club revealed that it had no interest in pursuing superstar free agent to be Tim Raines because of his past drug problem. Then there were the remarks of Goose Gossage that led to him being suspended without pay for the rest of the season for insubordination, etc. Now that, of course, will go into arbitration as soon as they have an arbiter. Gossage, who makes approximately $1.25 million a year, to be suspended without pay, and the rule says for no more than 30 days, you're still talking an awful lot of money. 1-1. Now back. One thing, however, again, if I understand his contract, Goose Gossage has his salary deferred through 2016. Really?
Sounds like something out of Star Wars.
2016.
2016.
1-1 the count. 1-2.
And we're going to see it in our lifetime. There's going to have an old-timers game, and both teams will be on the payroll.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. And I think the ultimate contract will be given to a superstar where the contract is so loaded with perks, he will hire somebody to play for him. That's my favorite contract. 1-2. Fouled away. We've got a couple of scores for you. And you see Minnesota leading the Red Sox 2-0 in the 7th. Toronto scoreless. Toronto 5.5 behind Boston as of this date. We'll be looking at Boston next week at Yankee Stadium. And then we're going to be right there covering the hand-to-hand battles with Boston and Toronto. 1-2. Fouled away. But you know, when you think about San Diego in the front office, this isn't the first time that they had headlines. Who could forget? Well, these kids wouldn't remember, but those of us around in 1974, the late Ray Kroc, who got on the public address system microphone at Jack Murphy Stadium and said, "I've got good news and bad news. The good news is this was an opening day game." Down goes Templeton. Good news and bad news. The good news is we have drawn more people to our opener than they drew in the opener of Los Angeles, and the crowd roared. And he said the bad news is this is the stupidest baseball playing I've ever seen, because the Padres had Matty Alou doubled off first on a little foul ball to the first baseman. He had lost count. So if the owner can get on the PA system and rip, I guess this is just all part of it. And in his memory, his initials are on the Padre uniform. And while he was on the PA system, while he was ripping his ball club, for the only time in San Diego history, a streaker suddenly came out on the field and began running from one foul to the other. Base hit to right, going over to get it is Strawberry, and on his way to third is Nettles. So you have first and third. And Hawkins comes in with a single to right.
Now batting.
Well, they said as the streaker is running across the field, Kroc with the microphone is hollering, "Stop that man, stop him." And of course it's booming throughout the stadium. So that's the beginning of the San Diego Padres. So the fact they're in the headlines, hey, that's all part of it.
But you know, the ball club before the game, and I must say, they were loose. I mean, when you have a problem like the Dodgers, I think when you have to have clubhouse meetings because the players telling things to the press and behind another player's back, Guerrero's back, that's the kind of stuff that's really tough in the clubhouse, because you say, hey, if you got something to say, pal, tell me. The San Diego situation is really a battle between the front office and a particular player, but the guys seem to be loose. Well, why wouldn't you be where they are?
13 back. Looking at the schedule. 2 down in the second, and the Padres with a home run and a couple of singles have runners at first and third, and here's Tim Flannery. Strike. Flannery has an 11-game hitting streak. He flied to center in the first inning. That's a career high streak for him. He's the kid. He's famous forever and ever. He took his bride while in New York out to Coney Island or wherever to watch the sun set. Fly ball to straightaway center. And it'll be Lenny Dykstra to make the catch. They'd make good drives, wouldn't they? Tim Flannery and John Kruk trying to find Lake Michigan. The end of an inning and a half, 1-0 Padres.
Well, these trivia questions are tough. Okay, Boom Boom. What did Al Capone say when surrounded by the FBI?
Heck it, Bob.
He's right. I don't believe it. Name the English band that performed the first rock opera. Who? He's right again. Amazing. All right. What beer tastes so good it's the second largest selling beer in America?
Miller Lite.
Coming right up. He won the game. This game is easy.
No question about it. There's only one light beer. Miller Lite.
Sunday, the NFL plays here when the Browns battle the Bears.
Before your team takes the field, our team hits the air. NFL 86.
Well, we won't have film at 11, but we'll probably have more news about the Gossett story during the rest of the week. Okay, we have gotten it all out of the way. No more troubles, no more front office versus player, etc. Now the ball game. Mookie Wilson, Ray Knight, and Kevin Elstrin. See, the Red Sox got a run to make it close 2-1 with Minnesota. Mookie had a slight hamstring, but he's okay in playing. He has never gotten a hit against Hawkins, 0 for 13. 1 ball and 1 strike.
One thing about this Met lineup, they have at least 3 fellas in the lineup, Dykstra, Backman, and Mookie Wilson, who, until there's 2 strikes, have Nettles playing in on the grass. With 2 strikes, obviously he drops back.
2-2 to Mookie. Mookie, a switch hitter and bigger numbers hitting left-handed. He joined us a little late. Steve Garvey hit his 21st home run leading off in the 2nd inning. They got a couple of more base hits, but that's all. Down in the bullpen, McDowell, Orozco, and Sisk playing a little soccer. 2-2. Yeah, he's still looking for his first hit against Hawkins.
Third baseman, number 3.
Ray Knight coming up with 1 out. 2nd inning, 1-0 Padres. In coming to New York, you couldn't bypass pausing for a moment in the memory of Hank Greenberg, greatest right-hand home run hitter, hit 58 in 1 season. We certainly mourn Hank's passing. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, he was a delight to be around, too. I remember that in Detroit, being with him and Charlie Gehringer and Al Kaline. What a night that was, and Eldon Walker.
He went to James Monroe High School here in New York. Hank Greenberg, one of the greats. And all of us want to send along our best wishes to Dave Oust of the San Francisco Giants, recovering from hand surgery. He'll be back in the office on Monday, so they tell us. We're happy to hear that.
And I hope that the players took a page with that young catcher Hunt up at Montreal with the tobacco.
Oh, the chewing tobacco? He said he's never going to do it again.
Good.
That's right.
I got all over Lefferts before the game. Dykstra. That's the only fault I find with Dykstra, using that snuff.
3-1. Line drive right at Flannery. So Knight hits a bullet, but right at the second baseman. 2 down, and young Kevin Elster coming up.
Shortstop,
Kevin Elster made his major league debut 2 innings at shortstop on Tuesday against the Giants. Got his first major league hit in his first at-bat. It was an 8th inning single for Frank Williams. You remember your first big league at-bat?
Sure.
What happened?
Popped up.
Oh.
But I got a hit in that game.
Oh, did you?
In Cincinnati.
Did you pop up hard?
Oh, it was drilled it.
Yeah, okay. Hard ground ball, a 1-hopper to Nettles, and that takes care of Kevin.
Lonnie Fry was his second baseman. He had to come in to catch him.
We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
A great new television show.
I may not always believe in the client, but I have to believe in the system.
L.A. Law. Preview September 15th.
Starting September 8th, watch Donahue at 4 on Channel 4.
Looking at Bip Roberts, and you really got to like this little guy. First of all, he looks like the fat boy. He's always flitting around. He weighs 148 pounds, and Greg Booker said about him, hey, we got baked potatoes back in North Carolina bigger than you. But it doesn't bother him. He's talking to Deacon Jones, and he's one of those guys that tell me the players do it on the bench. He runs them crazy, asking questions, moving up and down.
He's in the ball game, and here's somebody who's very much in the game. The league's leading hitter, Tony Gwynn. He doubled to right in the first inning. Off speed and low, ball 2.
And Ray Knight really playing in. Gwynn leading the league, can still bunt.
Fouled away. Interesting, we mentioned in that recent game with the Mets, he threw out 3 runners that night. He's tied for the league lead in assists with 14, along with Glenn Wilson of the Phillies. The one part of Tony Gwynn that's hard to believe is a statement he made where he said, quote, he would rather win a Gold Glove than a batting title this year. I find that kind of hard to believe.
I do too.
Fouled away.
But I think the reason for that is he's worked so hard on his defense. He's out there all the time. I mean, he didn't wish himself to be a good defensive player, and I think what he's saying is, give me a little bit of credit.
Don't always talk about my hitting.
I tell you, when we
That's
had that...
terrific. You know, that's like saying to Rembrandt, or having Rembrandt say, look, I'm tired of talking about my painting. Talk about something else. Well, Gwynn doesn't want to talk about his hitting now. 1 away.
Left fielder, John.
He really took something off this pitch. It was a change of speed, and Gwynn really gets out in front of it. See, he kind of cut it, and he's way off stride. That's unusual for him.
Well, there's 3 strikeouts for Ron Darling as Tony bites the dust, and the batter now will be John Kruk, who struck out in the first inning.
He's a long way from home plate, this youngster, but watch when he strides as he checks that bat as he always does. He strides into that ball.
Boy, it didn't take them long. You know how every week we talk about how they knock the lines out. They've already obliterated the batting boxes and the back lines. Look at that. And it's just the 3rd inning. I mean, why bother? Strike.
Boy, there was the perfect pitch, low and outside.
2-1 to John Kruk. Kid out of West Virginia.
He's a big leaguer, though, Vin. He said, be sure to tell my mom hello, because my mom likes you guys. You tell her hello, so hello, Mom.
3-1. High slicing foul out of play. You know, he made a statement, I think we mentioned it once before, and it just shows you the pressure of some players. Here's a kid from a little town in West Virginia, and when he signed a professional contract and went out his first year, he was playing at Walla Walla, Washington, and he said, it was the only time in my life I went somewhere where I didn't know anybody. He knows somebody there. Base hit to left field. So John Kruk, a base hit to left. It's 1-0 Padres. They have 5 hits against Ron Darling. And the batter will be Kevin McReynolds, who has a little 4-game hitting streak. McReynolds has a great amount of ability. He's one of those kids you sit there and just wait for him to explode. In 1984, the year the Padres went into the series, He had 20 home runs and 75 RBIs. And remember, he was hurt and lost for the World Series.
He's got the kind of ability, Vin, that places him in the category that I really don't like, and it's that category of he can be as good as he wants to be.
Yeah.
That's tough. He wants to be good. Everybody wants to be good.
Kruk at first, one away in the third, 1-0 San Diego. Padres will run 5 hits, the Mets no runs, 2 hits. And there goes Kruk, and a hit-and-run drive into right center field. Dykstra on his horse, but this one is going to short hop the wall. John Kruk, under a full head of steam, coming to the plate, will score. And holding at second base, McReynolds with a double. And the Padres lead 2-0. Reynolds now has hit in 5 straight.
Kruk was standing just about a step away from second base when that ball landed, and his third base coach, Jack Kroll, had him coming all the way.
So Kevin McReynolds, a big RBI man, he now has 75, and John Kruk, who looks like he was taking an awful lot of extra batting practice, taking off all that tape off that right hand. Here's Garvey, who homered in the second inning. 0-1. Ron Darling has allowed 2 runs and a half a dozen hits, and we're only in the third inning. One and one.
Garvey's one of those hitters that when he waves that bat preliminary to swinging, you check his head. If you were a catcher, you would think he's trying to sneak a peek. Watch him now. Right there.
One and two, the count. Garvey, of course, had his streak snapped. He has started another one. He's played in 305 straight. One out. McReynolds at second base. 2-0 Padres in the third.
I'm not saying that Garvey is sneaking a peek, but he would be suspect.
How dare you?
Yes, he would be. Right there. I'd give a little late target. Look at Carter, not giving it yet. Now he's got him.
Steve Garvey?
Yes.
The All-American boy would sneak a peek?
I know that his arms belong on the baking soda box. He's got a good housekeeping seal on him, but look at that head.
I'm shocked.
Well, don't be.
1 and 2. You see, base hit to center, and here comes McReynolds. Charging it is Dykstra, and he will not have a play. And the Padres have jumped out in front at the expense of Ron Darling, 3-0.
Catcher Terry Kennedy.
Meanwhile, Davey Johnson, talking to Mel Stottlemyre, his pitching coach, has to be some concern. Darling has not gone more than 7 innings in his last 6 starts. The Mets naturally pride themselves on their starting pitchers. But, of course, they do know they have a very strong bullpen. So Terry Kennedy trying to keep it going. Garvey at first, still only 1 out. That was the leadoff man, Gwynn, who struck out.
Darling trying to get that ground ball because you certainly have that double play situation and set up here.
Ball 1. The Mets are the only major league team to have 5 pitchers in double figures in wins. That would be a first in history of the Mets. Ojeda has won 16, Fernandez 15, Gooden 13, Darling 12, and down in the bullpen, Roger McDowell has won 13. And in talking about McDowell, the other side of the coin in the bullpen is Jesse Orozco. They're the only team in the big leagues with 2 relievers who have more than 15 saves. McDowell has 18 and Orozco 17. They're loaded in that area.
Might be it.
3-0. So Darling's problems continue. He has given up 2 singles, a double, and a walk, and Mel Stottlemyre out to the mound to talk to him.
I had the feeling Kennedy would have been turned loose because he really did a double take at Kroll. He got the first sign and then gave him a little indication he wasn't sure, and Kroll went through it again, so he was hitting 3-0, and Darling trying to nibble loses him, and now you have to be careful with Nettles up there, who has good power, and that first pitch, he could jump on it should Darling just say, hey, I'm going to get ahead of him. So I'm sure Mel was trying to remind him of, give me some extra on this one.
And if you remember, Nettles went the other way with Darling. He singled to left field. Graves always had good power. Darling has his hands full. 2 on, 1 out, 2 in. 3-0 Padres.
He threw him an off-speed pitch that he went that way because they played Nettles really to pull. Knight at third base is way over, and Elster is shortstop shaded towards the bag. As you can see, look how wide he is in the bag, so they expect him to pull.
That'll cost a strike. In his heyday with the Yankees, Nettles, of course, was a big home run hitter. He hit as many as 37 back in 1977, and he's hit 20 or more in 11 of his 16 big league seasons. 0-1. Another strike.
When you talk about speed on this Padres ball club, I think this situation is a pretty good indication of what they have with Garvey at second, Kennedy at first, and Nettles in the batter's box. I mean,
Right.
It's not exactly a track meet.
No way. Nettles just turned 42. And he lifts one into right center. Dykstra and Strawberry. It's Dykstra. That's the second out of the inning, and the runners hold. So 2 down, runners at first and second, and the batter will be Gary Templeton. Glenn Davis, who had been ailing, is evidently fine. He hit a 3-run home run, and the Astros are sitting on top of a 5-0 lead in the 3rd inning. Templeton struck out in the 2nd inning. And 1 to count. So Darling going after the hitters. He went right after Nettles. First 2 pitches were strikes. Now he's on target against Templeton. Fouled away. Padres 3 and the Mets nothing.
This would be a pretty good indication, I think, Vin, of what Stottlemyre told him, because he's got 2 strikes on Templeton. Is he going to nibble, or is he going to go right after him? I would think he'd go right after him.
Templeton has been struggling this year. He's about 50 points under his lifetime batting average. He's not the same hitter. Doesn't mean he won't hit now. But, you know, he's hit and had over 200 hits twice in his career. His first full year with the Cardinals in '77, he hit 200 hits. And then 2 years later, he had 211 hits. Kennedy at first, Garvey at second, 2 down in the 3rd. 3-0 Padres. And he just lifted that one into right field, base hit. Strawberry's got a play on Garvey. The throw to Carter. He's out at the plate. So without any speed, it wasn't close.
He gives him a throw all the way on a fly, and I mean, it's a room service tag.
nothing beats a cold Miller Lite when you're watching a game under the hot sun, eh, Sparky?
Yeah, great seats, too.
I bought them last week. Got them on sale. It's almost like being at the park.
For the best taste under the sun, there's only one light beer, Miller Lite.
Pies are murdered, though.
But not every day is a gorgeous day in New York, so today's giveaway is reflected by the stands. Look at this. They were rained out yesterday, so a buck short and a day late, but it's here. I think it's Snapper Umbrella Day. Well, that's quite a sight, though, to see all those umbrellas swirling around.
How can they do that when you see a zephyr of the wind?
In the 6th inning, 3-1 Padres. Andy Hawkins singled to right and struck out. 1 for 2. Popped up on the right side, Hernandez.
Garden is hanging tough in there. With that pitch, he's made 90 pitches, 63 strikes, 27 balls, and 17 of 27 first pitches strikes. So he has been pitching with 2 infields, it looks like, with all those base runners, but he's hanging tough.
Yeah, the Padres have left 8 men in 5 innings. They have had at least 1 hit in every inning, and they had 4 hits and a walk in the 3rd inning. And Steve Boros, kneeling there, saw his club only scratch for 2. It's been a painful year for Steve Boros, I'm sure. And now suddenly his job, at least in the press and conversations everywhere, he might be up for grabs. When Dick Williams left in spring training, Boros was the minor league coordinator and was given the job. And then the quotes about Steve Boros. Tony Gwynn said, "We miss the discipline of Dick Williams." And then Gary Templeton said, "The team doesn't show any emotion." So now he's in the middle of that. Nice man. So somewhere, I guess, between Dick Williams and his authoritarian approach and Steve Boros will be the man to manage the Padres. Maybe.
You know his name comes up?
Oh, I tell you, the name comes up every single time. Have 4 letters in the name?
But I'm telling you, you're not thinking of the guy I am.
I'm thinking of an older man.
You're thinking of Jim Fry.
Jim Fry.
But you know his name's coming up?
Uh-huh. Comes all the way from Las Vegas.
You got it.
Uh-huh.
Larry Bowa.
Well, whatever Steve Boros does, he'll do well. Of course, he's writing a novel, you know.
He's managing a novel.
That's it. I don't want to know the outcome yet, though. 3-1 in favor of San Diego. We're in the 6th inning. Flannery followed by Gwynn. Fly ball to straightaway center. I don't know. He should get permanent possession of Len Dykstra, or maybe Dykstra should get permanent possession of him. 4 at-bats, 4 fly balls to the center fielder.
I'll guarantee you somebody will say to him on the bench, "Why don't you try somebody else? That fella can catch the ball." Nobody knows it better than Flannery.
He's looking for a weakness. So 4 fly balls to Len Dykstra. And the batter will be Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn doubled to right, single to left, and struck out. 2 for 3. The league's leading hitter in the count 0-1.
Different pitchers have different habits. I kind of like the way Darling gets the grip on the ball. Now watch, he'll put the ball in the glove, bare hand, no baseball, and then he gets the grip as he goes into it right there.
2-1 to count.
Tough to steal anything when you do it that way.
The young pitcher at Montreal, the relief pitcher, Tim Burke. He winds up barehanded.
Huh?
And then we'll reach in as he's delivering.
That'll throw you off.
Oh, boy.
You want to holler to him, hey, you need the ball.
Yeah. You know the greatest single pitch I ever saw in a ball game? It was an exhibition game, unfortunately. Fouled away.
Wait a minute now. What do you mean by greatest single pitch?
The pitch that absolutely shocked me. Okay. I mean, Tommy Burns, the left-hander with the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
He's pitching in Miami Stadium to Pee Wee Reese, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Wish I could do this on camera just to show you.
Well, we can put you on.
See this? Nah, why ruin the day for everybody? But he tossed the ball in the air and caught it in his windup. I'm now, wait a minute now. He not only would toss the ball in the air and catch it and go into his windup, but now comes this exhibition game. And Pee Wee Reese is the hitter, Miami Stadium. Foul ball, good, okay. So now he goes into the windup, flips the ball, catches the ball, goes right to his windup and throws the ball behind his back.
Like a softball pitch.
Yeah, behind his back. And I swear to you, he missed the strike zone by 2 inches. Reese was the typical ball player. He jumped a foot off the ground and was furious. You know why he was furious? Thought he was showing him up. Best pitch I ever saw. Fouled away. Tommy Burns did it in the World Series. Can you imagine? With men on, he didn't throw it behind his back, but he would wind up and he would throw the ball in the air in front of him. And as he started to bring his left hand down in the wind, he'd catch the ball and go into the windup. With men on base, everything. If he dropped the ball, it's a balk. You blow the whole game.
That's great.
Yeah. Drive into right center field, and Mr. Dykstra. Okay, they're out in order in the 6th. That's the first time the Padres have gone quietly, and it's still 3-1 San Diego.
An American tradition continues. In 1978, it was dubbed the modern-day shot heard round the world. Bucky Dent's 3-run homer helped clinch one of baseball's greatest comeback seasons. Next Saturday, the intense rivalry continues as the Yankees host the Red Sox or the Reds meet the Dodgers. The tradition is here. The memories are waiting.
Bottom of the 6th inning, 3-1 in favor of San Diego. Hernandez, Carter, and Strawberry coming up. Talking about strange things on a ball field, Tommy Burns and his unusual delivery. You might have seen this on the pregame show, but it's worth another look. A comebacker to Mulholland of the Giants. He can't get the ball out of the webbing of the glove, so he throws glove and ball to first in time for the out. A legitimate play.
Why couldn't he get that ball out of there? Did he have some goo in there that stuck or something? I mean, I couldn't believe that. It was great reaction on his part at first base to make a basket catch because everything was coming at you. I never saw that. In fact, I was talking to Ellis Clary and Eddie Lyons, and neither one of them, they've been around baseball 120 years.
Mm-hmm.
None of them had ever seen that play.
I'd sure like to see Mulholland's glove and see what kind of webbing there is, why it got in there the way it did.
One of those gloves you could sweep 6 in.
Something. So here's Hernandez now. Fly to left, double to right. It's 3-1 San Diego, bottom of the 6th inning. Ball 1. They also showed one on the pregame show, which we saw here, a Dodger-Mets game, a looping fly ball to center. Lenny Dykstra shoestringed it, but the glove came off his hand. The ball was in the glove, and Dykstra thought it was a legitimate catch. And, of course, they informed him otherwise. 2-0.
Boy, it seems so long ago when you remember gloves used to just lay on the field.
Oh, and guys who play tricks?
Yeah,
Put a little garter snake in the glove or something?
Put that ugly tobacco in your fingers.
2 balls and no strikes. Right. Padres scored a run in the 2nd on a home run by Garvey. They put together 4 hits and a walk for 2 runs in the 3rd and had Garvey thrown out at the plate. The Mets scored a run on a walk to Backman and a double by Hernandez.
It's just an avalanche of beach balls coming out of the stands.
Ground ball to the right side to Flannery. 1 away.
The security people were trying to pick up the beach balls, and all of a sudden, dozens of them are showing up.
I'd like to remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game. I don't know, it's a modern day phenomenon, but I can't see people at home. You're getting ready. One says to the other, going to the ball game? Yeah, okay. You got your pencil and your scorecard? Yep. You got enough money to get a hot dog and a Coke or beer? Yep. Sunglasses? Yep. Beach ball? What?
Never used to be.
Bass fiddle? Strike one. Carter popped a short, grounded a short, 0 for 2. Gary's coming up to an anniversary. On the 16th of September in 1974, he was just a kid with the Montreal Expos. He made his Major League debut right here at Shea. And all the while, Andy Hawkins stands out there and steams.
Like a high curveball. I mean, he rips it. Hawkins knows it's gone. Look at his reaction. He knew it was gone the minute he touched it off. And the spectator makes a nice grab.
Now here's Darryl Strawberry. A shot hits the bag. Going to be picked up by Garvey for the out. How do you like that? Strawberry almost unroots the bag, and it's just going to be an 0 for 1 at bat.
Boy, that's when it really gets frustrating, when you hit it that hard.
And especially for a guy who had not had a hit in his last 14 at bats, to rip that one. With 2 down, the batter is Mookie Wilson. Struck out twice. Sometimes on that last swing, it looks like Mookie is swinging and he's not even looking at the ball.
He turned his head on that one.
Yeah.
He looked straight up, but it's the same spot, that fastball, the outside part.
He looked that time, but that first swing, I know he wasn't looking at the ball.
That backhand, his left hand comes off the bat when he completes that swing.
Remember, Mookie hit Kennedy on top of the head.
He held on to that one. He had a pretty good idea of what he wanted to do. It's a blind spot for him for some reason.
You think there might be a few pitchers in the National League watching this game wondering about that spot?
Well, you would try it. See, now he let go with that time. This is that low sinker. Doesn't look like it's a strike, but with 2 strikes, he didn't have a good cut at that one.
And he drives that one foul. Padres 3 and the Mets 2 in the 6th inning.
You know, it's easy to sit up here and analyze and all that, but the 2 best swings he's had is when he's had both hands on the bat and had a real good cut at it, like he's laying back and waiting for that ball.
One and 2 to Mookie. We've had home runs by Garvey and Carter. Padres led 3-0. Now it's 3-2. 2-2. Mookie's hitting 5 of his last 6. But for a month, he's hit about 330. Well, there you go again. Boy, that's something. He really eats him up, doesn't he? Struck him out 3 times. He still has yet to get a hit against Andy Hawkins in his career. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
Tuesday, a 2-hour movie, Going Ape. A hilarious comedy that'll drive you bananas. Tony Danza, Jessica Walter, and Danny DeVito are Going Ape Tuesday.
Keith Gordon tells about his new movie, Static, Monday on Live at 5.
They once wrote on one of my bats, for display purposes only, no respect. Looky here, the rookie. His real name is Kruk, K-R-U-K. Look how they spelled it. No respect.
Well, here he is, John Kruk, a rose by any other name.
Imagine that, right from the Rodney Dangerfield School of Hitting.
Well, he struck out, but then singled twice. One of the better young hitters to come around. I guarantee you they'll know his name in the National League.
You can bet on that.
If he survives all that chewing tobacco.
It's his only flaw.
3-0 the count.
Why? Why, look at that.
Oh, it's really stoked. Let him swing 3-0, and the count now 3-1. Good ball game. The Padres 3 runs, 11 hits, and the Mets 2 runs, 5 hits. We're in the top of the 7th inning. The Mets have punished the Padres this year, beating them 7 out of 9, and taking 5 out of 6 in San Diego. One hopper over the diving backman. So Kruk comes up with his 3rd hit.
He's putting on a pretty good show for Mama. He really hit that ball hard. Backman gives it a good try, but it takes kind of a bad hop and no chance for Wally.
Well, Ron Darling is pitching a neat 12-hitter. Marvell Wynn is going to run for John Kruk. This might be Darling's last inning of work. As Kruk comes out, Darling is due to bat 3rd when the Mets hit in the 7th inning. Down in the bullpen, Randy Neiman, a left-hander, loosening up. So Neiman in the pen. Wynn running at first, and here's McReynolds. McReynolds hit back to the box, doubled, and flied out. He has a 5-game hitting streak. Ball 1. McReynolds doubled in Kruk in the 3rd inning. Wow, there's something in center field. It's the lights of a car or something. Fortunately, it will not affect the hitter. He's in shade. But where we are, it's blinding. Where the heck that came from? Boy, that was close. There's something out there in center field, and we are really targeted.
A little closer than you like to see it, but he's back.
I might lose a play in the sun. You'll have to understand. Wow. We'll have to call Jay Horowitz. He can do everything around here. It's the first time. Now, it doesn't mean anything to you. It looks like a little diamond sparkling out there in center field, but it is right into our booth. Well, guys lose balls in the sun. I'm liable to lose a player in the sun. Easy. Three balls and no strikes. 7th inning, 3-2 in favor of the Padres.
Boros has been turning everybody loose, it seems, on 3 balls and no strikes. Let's see what happens here.
McReynolds had a look at Jack Kroll. Steve has already flashed the sign out. Santos Alomar coaching at first. On the corner.
I don't think that Kevin believed that was a strike. You know he's hitting, what he'd like to know from the coach is Wynn running at first base.
I need outfielder's glasses. You've got sunglasses.
Yeah, but I'm not looking out directly to center field either.
Boy. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything looking at it from that shot. 3-1. Another strike.
Here's a big pitch now. 3-2. You got to feel that Wynn is running. Strike him out, throw him out.
There goes Wynn. Shortstop covering and a little topper to the pitcher. So Darling makes the play. So McReynolds hits back to the box. Marvell Wynn goes to second, and with one out, Steve Garvey will be coming in. Garvey homered, singled, and struck out.
First baseman.
And was thrown out at the plate in the third inning. And, of course, that becomes a big play. When the Mets hit in the bottom of the seventh, they have Howard Johnson, Kevin Elster, and Ron Darling's spot. And with Neiman throwing back of him, it looks like he's on the edge of coming out. Ground ball to short, and they've got the runner. Elster to Backman, to Johnson, to Elster.
Young Elster showed great poise because it looked like Wynn was going to break for third, but Elster didn't commit himself until he saw what Wynn was going to do. And then he realized he wasn't going back. Now watch him. Now he's going to go to third, and now he waits, and now he's got him. There's nothing that Wynn can do. He's in no man's land.
And Elster, who started it, ends it with the tag. If you're scoring 6-4, 5-6. And here comes Terry Kennedy with Garvey at first, 2 out in the seventh, and it's still Padres 3, Mets 2. Kennedy grounded to second, walked and flied to center, 0 for 2. Ball 1. Toronto, Chicago still 1-0 there in the 8th inning. Detroit leading Oakland on a home run by Kirk Gibson, his 21st. We told you earlier that the Astros were breezing 5-0, but the Cardinals came up with 5 in the 6th inning. Steve Lake hit a 3-run home run, his first of the year. They're now in the 7th inning. And 2 to Terry Kennedy. That's something. 12 hits, but only 3 runs to show for it. That's including a double. Well, 2 doubles and a home run. That takes care of Kennedy. A half a dozen strikeouts, and at the end of 6 1/2, 3-2 Padres. Here's another 7th inning stretch.
Gatorade Thirst Quencher presents the 7th inning stretch. Gatorade is thirst aid for that deep down body thirst. Not always recognized for his defense, identify this 9-time Gold Glove winner who 7 times has won the home run crown in the National League. Mike Schmidt of the Philadelphia Phillies began the current season with 458 home runs and 7 home run titles. Not bad for a man who batted only .196 in his first full season. Throw in 2 MVP awards, 9 All-Star selections, and 1 game in which he hit 4 home runs, and you've got quite a career still going for the Phillies' Mike Schmidt.
With great production and greater expense, Vin Scully will now show you the Tommy Byrne pitch because you asked for it. Show me the pitch. What'd he do? All right, there it is. Now wait, show us the Pee Wee Reese one. Here's the Pee Wee Reese pitch. He picks up the ball, full wind-up, and behind his back. And Pee Wee Reese really was upset because he thought he was showing him up. Because you asked for it. Now you know the rest of the story. Hey, that was pretty good. Not bad.
Could you imagine, though, being up there at home plate and the guy do that to you?
Well, I think that would have. I hope Tommy Byrne was watching it. Oh, Pee Wee was watching it.
Mel Stottlemyre wouldn't like it if Ron Darling tried it, I'll tell you that. Marvell Wynn is now in center field. And Ron Darling looks like he's finished. Kevin McReynolds moved over to left field where John Kruk was. In the 7th inning, 3-2 San Diego. Howard Johnson. Then we'll see Kevin Elster, and we'll see then about Ron Darling, who looks like he's done. Right. 3 runs, 12 hits for the Padres. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Mets in the 7th. One and one. Ray Knight started, lined out and singled, and then Johnson ran for him. Strike 2. Little pop fly. It'll be the shortstop Templeton. 1 away. In case you joined us a little late, we can bring you up to date. In the 2nd inning, Steve Garvey led off with a home run. In the 3rd inning, with 1 out, Kruk singled, McReynolds doubled him in, and Garvey singled home McReynolds. It was 3-0 in favor of San Diego. In the bottom of the 3rd, Hernandez doubled in Backman, who had walked, and with 1 out in the 6th inning, Gary Carter homered. So you're up to date. 3-2 Padres, 1 out in the 7th. Lee Mazzilli is out on deck, and you can hear the crowd reacting to a disturbance off to the right. There's Lee. And the Cardinals, who picked up 5 to tie, have now taken the lead. 6-5 over Houston in the 7th inning. In there. Strike 2. Jesse Orozco is now throwing in the Mets bullpen. Kevin Elster, 0 for 2. Youngster playing for Rafael Santana. 4-1. Elster hit .269 at Jackson. 1-2. Hit foul down the right field line, out of play. So Ron Darling down 3-2 here in the 7th inning. It was kind of a gritty performance, allowing 12 hits but only 3 runs. Fastball got him. He just came inside and challenged him and blew him away. 4 strikeouts for Andy Hawkins, and Lee Mazzilli coming up.
Batting for pitcher Ron Darling, number 13, Lee Mazzilli.
Lee Mazzilli coming back. He wears number 13. When he was here previously, he wore number 16. And as I understand it, when he came back to the Mets, Dwight Gooden offered him the uniform. And Mazzilli said, no, I'll take anything they give me. I'm just glad to be here. Then he said, after he'd been here a while, somebody said, how are you? He said, my face is killing me from smiling. Well, he's happy to be back. 2-0. So Ron Darling allows 3 runs and 12 hits in 7 innings. And Mazzilli hits for him. Hawkins has had excellent control, walking just 1, as you can see. And Darling walked but 1. On the corner.
Just like you, Vin, we all have our little pet peeves about baseball. You, that thing with the helmet, the coaches. Third baseman guarding the line now is one of mine. Look where Nettles is playing him, left-hand batter.
Right by the bag.
I mean, he's right by the bag, and of course, if he hits it to his left, it's a single, they say. If he hits it to my right, it's a double. But what are chances of a left-hand hitter hitting one like that? But that's where they want him to play, and that's where he'll play.
And Mazzilli goes down, strikeout number 5. 3 of the last 4 have struck out, and at the end of 7, Padres 3, Mets 2. This telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Jesse Orosco with his 17 saves and 5 wins. He's the all-time Mets save leader. Coming in now, not to save, because the Mets are trailing by a run. He's in there trying to keep San Diego quiet. Not going to keep this crowd quiet, and it's another dandy. Boy, are they drawing. The paid attendance today, 46,879. There's just about 48,000 in the house. The Mets have drawn 2,350 some odd thousand. They're really moving. Look at that. And this is a 12-game homestand that is just starting out. Ball 1. Greg Nettles, single to left, fly to center, single to right. So he's used the whole ballpark. 2 for 3. Jesse Orosco, in his last 17 relief outings, his earned run average is less than a run. You can imagine. He just passed Tug McGraw on the all-time Mets list in saves. And if I remember correctly, back in spring training, the Mets and everybody in baseball figured that Orosco was not going to wind up in New York. Boy, are they glad he did. High drive into right center field and deep. Back goes to the wall as Dykstra. It's off the wall. He bare hands the hop, but by that time, Nettles is into second base.
He seemed to circle that ball like he had a bad angle on it. It was well hit, and he was in right center field. Just, he knows he's got plenty of room, just never gets to it.
Now we'll have a runner. It'll be Vip Roberts. So Leon Vip Roberts running for Nettles, leading off in the 8th inning. Flannery can easily move over to play third, and Roberts stay in the game at second. So Nettles has a big day. 2 singles and a long double to right center. And with nobody out, you have Templeton, Hawkins, and Flannery. And of course, Templeton, the switch hitter, going the other way.
And here's that spot. If you make the out, you got to pick up that base.
Down in the San Diego bullpen, the little goose is warming up, Lance McCullers. Fouled away. And now Stoddard is throwing down there. And McCullers, after moving around, sat down. 0-1 the count. And he goes to right field, but in the air, so tagging up is Roberts. And Strawberry trying to get him. Boy, that's something. Made a pretty good throw down the line. And Roberts with his speed in there.
That was a good move by Boros to put in the base runner Roberts, because I'll tell you, he got about 20 feet from third base, and he went into a real Greg Louganis type dive. Watch him now. He tags up. And here he comes. Now, he knows it might be close, and I mean, he just takes a big head first. Look at here. He picks up speed when he hits that ground. That's a big play to pick up that base, because now that infield's got to pull in. And, Hawkins can do a number of things, and you got the other ball club thinking. Big play.
First thing to look at about Hawkins, if you're thinking squeeze, is he has sacrificed 3 times this year. The leading bunter on the San Diego Padres staff is Dave Dravecki with a half a dozen. Hawkins has singled, struck out, and fouled out. So let's see if they put the squeeze on. The infield is up. Hernandez is all the way on the grass. What we have to do is watch Roberts. He'll be the one to tell us about the squeeze, not Hawkins. He is not coming. Half swing foul.
Carter really checking hard. He's looking all around. You can see Carter checking that bench to see if he sees something that's just out of the ordinary. Taking a look at his own bench now to see if he might get a pitch out sign.
There is so much shade in and around the home plate area, they've turned on the lights. It's a beautiful blue sky day, but we need a little help around the plate. 0-1. Well, they're certainly not thinking squeeze. With the pitcher a half swing and a full swing, and the count 0-2.
And you see Davy Johnson, he's flashing signs to Carter as far as defensing against that possibility.
Three runs, 13 hits for the Padres. And Steve Boros must be frustrated. He probably feels he should be out in front 5-2. The Mets 2 runs, 5 hits. One and two.
Right now is when I'd be alive for anything, Ben.
Even with 2 strikes, would you think squeeze?
Yes, sir. I certainly would. I would not take for granted they wouldn't put a play on. You see Carter really taking a good look at Davy Johnson. He's looking all over the place, see if he sees anything different.
Everybody's staring at Jack Kroll. Roberts was, Hawkins was, Carter was. One and two, 1 out. 3-2 Padres, top of the 8th. And
Pitched out.
And he almost got the ball over the plate.
Yeah, lousy pitch out, but they put the play on, and you can see why they would do it. I mean, he called the pitch out.
He almost got strike 3.
He sure did. Bad pitch out. Tell you, to throw a proper pitch out is something you work on in spring training. It's not as easy as it appears. And now Hawkins goes down. He blows the whole thing wide open. Hey, if you got a play on, man, I missed it. Managers love that. Oh, do they love that?
Yeah, but it's only September.
That's right. Oh, I have heard real Shakespearean quotes from managers when that happens. You airhead, you this, you that.
All right, 2-2 to Andy Hawkins. Roberts has not made any move at all.
Look at Carter. There, he's engineering it.
Roberts not coming. And there's a check swing foul down to Sandy Alomar.
He motioned for young Elster to move more toward second base is what he did.
Three-2 Padres. Roberts at third with 1 out in the 8th. He's coming. And he fouled it back for strike 3.
You just couldn't take for granted he wouldn't put it on, and Gary did not have the pitch out on. It was a strike. But you could see, and great camera work by our guys, that Carter's eyes were just all over the ballpark. Not necessarily to pick up a sign, but see something different. And Roberts really does a good job. He doesn't break till the very last minute because it was a safety squeeze. By that time, the ball is fouled off, and he's out on strikes.
So 2 down, a runner, a third, and Tim Flannery coming up. With an 11-game hitting streak, he has hit 4 fly balls to Len Dykstra. Now Carter gesturing to Mookie Wilson to come up a little in left field.
According to the pattern, the left-hand pitcher, he'll hit to the opposite field and not deep.
When the Mets hit in the bottom of the 8th inning, they have Len Dykstra, Wally Backman, and Keith Hernandez. One ball and no strikes to count to Tim Flannery. Ball 2. Bring you up to date quickly. The Red Sox came from behind to beat Minnesota. Toronto stubbornly holding on to a 1-0 lead, and Detroit leading Oakland 2-1 in the 3rd. St. Louis down 5-0, now leading Houston 6-5 in the 8th inning. Strike. Jesse Orozco picking up the pieces for Ron Darling. Fouled away. 2-2.
He was just bunting for a base hit. There was no squeeze play on that particular foul bunt. He just caught Hojo back a little bit, thought he could beat it out. He also caught Biff Roberts by surprise.
2-2. So Orozco trying to get him, keep it a 1-run game, and then let the hitters try and bring him back into the game. Three runs, 13 hits for the Padres. The Padres retired an order only in the 6th inning. They've left 9 men in 7 innings, and they have a runner, a third, here in the 8th inning. Two and 2. Little roller to first, and Hernandez will put that away, and they're out of the jam. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of 7 1/2, the Padres 3, the Mets 2.
I don't need drugs. I believe in me and my ability. I don't want anything interfering with the way I play the game. Cocaine's no way to believe in yourself. Hey, it can kill you. If you're into cocaine, get off it. You're living a lie. Get off it while you still have a life.
Cocaine, the big lie. Call 1-800-662-HELP. Furnished by Major League Baseball in cooperation with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Always something going on at Shea Stadium. If they're not hanging K's for Gooden or Fernandez, they are hanging bunnies. You know how the magician pulls the rabbit out of the hat? Well, the Mets' magic number is 10. Any combination of Mets wins and or Philadelphia losses, and that's that. And the banners are here.
For the Padres, now playing third base, number 3, Jerry Royster.
$46,879 paid, almost $48,000 in the house, and they're seeing a dandy. Padres got out in front 3-0. The Mets got a run in the 3rd, a run in the 6th, and we're in the bottom of the 8th inning with San Diego leading 3-2. But knowing all the while that they had squandered so many opportunities, the Padres have left 10. They have a new third baseman in Jerry Royster. Ball 1 to Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra had a broken bat single, flied to right, grounded to second. He's 1 for 3. Should Hawkins get into trouble, they have him backed up. Right-hander Lance McCullers, left-hander Greg Lefferts in the pen. Ball 2. Toronto opening it up 4-0. Garth Ord's doubled with the bases loaded to drive in 3 and give them the comfortable 4-0 lead. Little fly ball slicing, coming in a hurry is Marvell Wynn, and he can't hold it. And on his way to second is Dykstra in there.
Looked like he was going to make the play, got a glove on it, but it just popped right out, and Dykstra and Marvell Wynn could see him going. A head first slide, and Dykstra is in safe. A big, big base he picks up. Here's the slide, head first. He's going to make it, and he picks up speed as he lands. And Boris is coming out now, maybe make a move, in.
He's got to make a move because you have the left-hand hitters Backman and Hernandez, and I think he'll want Lefferts. So here comes Greg Lefferts. So it is 3-2 Padres. The tying run at second. Nobody out. We'll be right back.
The world's athletes are gathering in Rome. The IAAF Grand Prix final. If it's special, it's on NBC Sports.
Andy Hawkins went 7 innings plus, surrendered the double to Dykstra. He allowed a total of 6 hits, and as he talks to Deacon Jones, his game is very much up in the air because the tying run at second base belongs to him. So he could win it, or he could have nothing to do with it. He can't lose it. Greg Lefferts, a workhorse, leads the majors in appearances with 70. His best year was 1984. In 1984, he worked 4 innings in the championship series against the Cubs. He worked 6 innings in the World Series against Detroit, and in 10 innings did not allow a run.
And with Backman up there, they'll be looking for the bunt because championship ball clubs, they can move those men in those late innings. Nobody out, second base. Backman can handle that bat.
Dykstra, by the way, leads the Mets in bunts. The only thing is, with 11 bunts, 9 of them batting left-handed. So let's see what he does from this side of the plate. Dykstra at second, and Backman trying to move him over. Backman, 11 sacrifices, but only 2 right-handed.
With Garvey's reputation, he can bunt that way, and Dykstra can pick up the base.
You remember he had a bunt single in the first inning, batting left-handed. 2-0. So Lenny Dykstra doubles, and Backman trying to move him up a notch. Remember earlier we were talking about that possible winter trade of last year, Dykstra for Lefferts, and then the word was no for Dravecky. The bunt in the air, foul, and the count 2-1.
Royster at third base. There you see Davey flashing his signs. Royster at third base, not leaving his position. He's got to protect it against Dykstra because if he comes in too far, he's stolen base threat at second base. And Backman just trying to get that ball down. There you see Royster.
2-1, the count to Wally Backman. Keith Hernandez on deck. 3-2 San Diego, bottom of the 8th inning. Nobody out. Ball 3. And of course Hawkins, all he can do now is wait. He gave it his best shot for 7 innings. There's the bunt. And Lefferts has to go to first base to Flannery, and the sacrifice works. So Backman does his job and gets Dykstra over to third. the other thoughts that Steve Boros has, wouldn't he like to have that play in the third inning back where Garvey was thrown out at the plate? So the tying run is 90 feet away with one out, the infield up, and Lefferts will go head-to-head with Hernandez.
Well, that little bunt really does the job. Pulls that infield way in against a tough hitter like Hernandez.
On deck is Gary Carter, and McCullers has stopped throwing in the pen. He's about ready if they need him.
You don't see that too often. He was completely fooled on that pitch. It looked like a big breaking slow curveball. Off balance, reaches for it because he usually gets into it. He usually goes to the opposite field against the left-hand pitcher.
No balls, one strike. 1-1. I tell you, that was a tough pitch. You can see that little path of sunshine behind the mound, and Lefferts sidearm. So 1 minute his left arm was in the sun, and then he came right out of that into the shade. That was a little mean. 1-1. And base hit into right field. Brand new ball game.
One hand.
And for Andy Hawkins, the whole day has just gone down the drain. And there goes Andy. He's charged with 3 runs. And this is history. Boros will now go to McCullers to go head-to-head against Gary Carter. The Dykstra doubles, the sacrifice, and the singles were even 3-3, and we'll be back.
Here's a base hit by Hernandez. It looks like Leffert is trying to make the same pitch he fooled him on. Now watch Keith kind of bail out. It's to the outside part of the plate, one hand, but when you're hot, you're hot. And it's a base hit, and we're tied.
So Keith Hernandez standing at first with a very silent Steve Garvey for the moment anyway. 3-3 in the 8th, and Gary Carter will go up against the baby goose, Lance McCullers. It is interesting that McCullers burst upon the scene last year, filling the void left when Gossage required knee surgery. Now, of course, without Gossage, McCullers is the #1 man out of the bullpen, although he has also started. But he has been brilliant in his last 11 games. He went to the pen middle of August. He has won 2 without a loss. He has 2 saves and a half an earned run in 11. And got him. Picked off Keith Hernandez. And when you're cold, you're cold.
Boy, I can't believe that. That is really a man bites dog kind of story. Keith reacting very slowly, and boom, good throw, tags him, and he had him dead to rights. Garvey knew it. Look at his thumb. Garvey called the play. And Keith, if you ask him about it after the game, he's going to say it was a rock. That's what it was, a rock-headed play.
So Lance McCullers, who's from Tampa, the same town that boasts of Dwight Gooden, now can go to his windup working on Carter. Ball 1, 1-0. So 1 minute the hero as he drives in the tying run, and now he is promptly picked off. 3-3 in the 8th inning. 1-1. McCullers had really put together. He's 6'1", and he's 215. He's only 22 years old. He's just starting. Ball 2, 2-1.
I tell you, just watching Carter on the last 2, taking that one and swinging it to the other one. He's not too anxious to be in there. It must be a little tough to see.
Yeah. Right background and the pitcher out of the shadows. That's what surprised me, but it shows you that pitch that Lefferts gave Hernandez when he came sidearm through the sunlight, tried to do it again, base hit.
Yep.
Toronto iced it, 4-0. Jimmy Key with 9th inning help from Tom Henke on the shutout. Well, it's either Henke or Eichhorn every day. 3-2 to Carter. 2 out in the 8th, 3-3. When the Padres bat in the 9th, They have Tony Gwynn, Marvell Wynn, and then McReynolds. A drive to left field. Back to the wall goes McReynolds. Gone!
He threw him 2 hard sliders and then a 3-2 fastball, and Gary might have looked like he was having problems seeing it, but he saw that one. He drilled it.
And it is 4-3, amazing Mets. Well, I'll tell you one thing. They have Disneyland in Southern California, but Shea Stadium has become a magic castle.
So true.
In there again, strike 2. Darryl Strawberry grounded out twice, fly deep to center, 0 for 3. Too little, too late. 2 big runs in the 8th inning, and at the end of 8, the Mets 4, the Padres 3. Quinn, Wynn, and McReynolds.
It looked like Gary Carter was having trouble seeing it, but watch where this fastball is, right down the middle. The best pitch he had to hit, and I mean, he gets it all. And was he anxious to see it? Now watch the reaction by McCullers. He knows it's gone. But I tell you, we've got a shot that shows you just what happens. Now watch Carter's eyes as he sees the ball come. Now watch him get big. Look at there. He can't believe it. He looked like Halloween. Wow.
He could see all the way to Houston.
Oh, man. He really put the Cyclops on that one.
So we go to the 9th. Got a dandy, and the Mets have turned it around to lead 4-3. Tony Gwynn, Marvell Wynn, and Kevin McReynolds. Lance McCullers has to be heartbroken, trying to hold on to a tie and have it explode in his face. Orozco working on Tony Gwynn, who has a single and a double. Ball 1.
I'm going to vote for Miller Lite, most valuable player, the cameraman who got those eyes.
Okay. One and one. Isn't it something, though? Early in a game, you blow chances, you have a runner thrown out at the plate, and sure enough, it's going to come back and haunt you.
Yes, sir.
And that's hit foul. In the 3rd inning, the Padres had Kruk single, McReynolds double him in, Garvey single home McReynolds, Kennedy walked, Templeton singled, and Garvey was thrown out at the plate. And now they're a buck short. At the time, they were leading 3-0. Sisk and McDowell are down in the pen for the Mets. For Gary Carter, 25 times in Carter's career, he's had at least 2 home runs in a game, and he's done it now 3 times this year. Against Philadelphia, against Atlanta, and now against San Diego. 1-2 the count to Tony Gwynn. High fly ball into left field, but it's playable. Wilson is there. Don't forget the NFL tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on doubleheader. Cleveland and Chicago, Houston versus Green Bay, and also the Raiders Denver, Jets Buffalo, Miami San Diego, Pittsburgh Seattle, Cincinnati Kansas City, Indianapolis and New England. Check your local listings for the games and time in your area. Well, the magic number maybe is 9. And then, of course, the Phillies play the Dodgers tonight. Carmelo Martinez at the plate. Ball 1. So Martinez hitting for Wynn. Remember, Wynn ran for Kruk and then could not hold the ball hit by Dykstra. In there.
Jesse Orozco picked up the game when Darling and the Mets were losing 3-2, so he stands to be the winner. Fly ball to center field, Lenny Dykstra.
You know, they kept talking about most valuable player when Gary was out of the lineup. They kept saying, well, look what they're doing without him. I kind of believe his most valuable player stock just went up a little bit today.
2 home runs for Carter in the 6th inning, and then to break the tie in the 8th inning. And with 2 out in the 9th inning, the Mets leading 4-3. The batter is Kevin McReynolds. McReynolds hit back to the box, doubled in a run, flied to left, hit back to the box. And in case you're counting, Dykstra has 7 putouts in center. A one-hopper, Elster from the grass. Got him.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the day, everybody.
Keith Hernandez knocked in the tying run. Gary Carter hit 2 home runs, including the game-winning run. And the Mets roll on and on. They have won 90 games. The Mets 4 runs, 8 hits, no errors. For the Padres, 3 runs, 13 hits, and no errors. Hawkins, Lefferts, and McCullers. McCullers is the losing pitcher. Darling and Orozco is the winning pitcher. The Mets have now beaten the Padres 8 out of 10, and they did it before 48,000 at Shea Stadium.
It's the sign of the good ball club, Ben. They just keep coming back, and of course, you go to Dykstra's play, Backman's little bunt's going to get lost in there, but that was a big play to get the guy over to third, and of course, the infield pulls in. Hernandez, even though he didn't get that real Hernandez typical swing in there, got enough of the ball to get the base hit, and then you get the home run.
And the line score will jump out at you when you see the 13 hits for the Padres. You know a ball club that, without speed, can get the minimum out of so much. Only 3 runs on 13 hits.
And when you talk about speed, it's not just stolen bases. It's going from first to third. It's scoring from second base on the base hit. It's scoring from first on the extra long base hit. And Padres just didn't have it.
They did also leave 10 men on base. Well, Gary Carter is going to be our guest, so stay right with us. We'll be visiting with Gary Carter right after this.
I'm Connie Chung. Tonight on NBC Nightly News, another terrorist attack. 2 gunmen, apparently on a suicide mission, sprayed machine gun fire at Jews praying in Turkey's largest synagogue. More than 20 people are killed. And the U.S. issues arrest warrants for the hijackers of the Pan Am jet in Pakistan. Details tonight.
The Major League Baseball game of the week has been brought to you by Miller High Life. Miller made the American way since 1855. By Armor All. It's the finishing touch every time you wash your car. And by Yugo. Everybody needs a Yugo sometime. This week's NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game is Gary Carter. Miller Lite is happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Gary Carter to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. We'll be visiting with Gary in a moment.
A promotional fee has been paid to NBC by United Airlines, serving 13 cities in Asia and the Pacific. United, a fresh breeze across the Pacific.
Does Wilford Brimley have the nerve to live with this lively bunch?
Don't you ever bet I don't have the nerve.
Our House, Thursday, September 11th.
Whodunit, brought to you by Schick. The Heisman Trophy. It usually goes to someone from a college football powerhouse, but can you name the last Ivy League athlete to win the Heisman? Whodunit? Only 3 Ivy Leaguers have ever even won the Heisman. The last to do it in 1951. Princeton halfback Dick Kazmaier.
The new Newlywed Game weeknights at 7:30 on Channel 4.
The New York Mets were down 3-0 to the San Diego Padres. They turned it around to win it 4-3, and our guest is Gary Carter. And let's backtrack a little bit. Let's go to the 3rd inning, first of all, Gary, because that's the play that had to stick in Steve Borrow's craw the rest of the day. Steve Garvey is thrown out standing up from me to you on that throw from Darryl Strawberry.
Yes.
Well, in that situation, I think that he was just going to test Darrell's arm, but the ball was hit so sharply that I was a little bit surprised that, the third base coach sent him home. But, you got to take a chance in this game once in a while, but I guess that's what hurt them at that particular situation.
Well, you had 2 outs and the pitcher coming up, so I guess it wasn't too much of a shock that they tried to send him in.
No, that's the reason why I think that he sent him, and that's the only thing I can think of. But Darrell just made the perfect throw, and it was all Darrell on that play. It made it easy for me to make the tag.
Gary, this is Joe.
Okay, Joe.
When you were batting against McCullers, it looked like you were having trouble seeing the ball. You kept blinking your eyes the first 2 pitches. In fact, he threw a slider. You backed out like you weren't too sure you wanted to be in that batter's box.
Well, those shadows were really playing havoc there, and all you try and do is just pick up any kind of rotation if you can. And he threw a couple of nasty sliders, and, of course, he's known to be a power pitcher. Then he threw the 3-1 fastball right there, and I was a little surprised he came back with it. I was actually sitting on something away, maybe a breaking ball again with the slider, but threw the fastball in the inner half, and my eyes, like you said, lit up. So I was just happy that the ball went out of the ballpark.
Gary, another thing about San Diego, its inability to produce after only 13 hits and only 3 runs. In the 8th inning, the leadoff man Nettles doubles. Templeton gets him over to third. And now the question up here, and of course in your mind, when will they try the squeeze, and will they try to squeeze? Tell us your thinking all through that sequence.
Well, I was looking at Davey the whole time, but basically he leaves it up to me to call pitch outs. And I think it's very crucial and important to get that first pitch over for a strike, especially since Steve Boros allowed Andy Hawkins to hit in that situation. I would have thought maybe he would have pinch hit for him for any kind of a hit on the ground or just any kind of contact. And I was a little bit surprised. We did call 1 pitch out in a certain situation where we thought that they were going to bunt. And then, of course, he did it with a count with 2 strikes on him. So anything like that can happen. I think you try and just think what the manager is going to do. And in this particular case, I think what keyed it was getting that first pitch over for a strike.
Gary, I called the pitch out the same time you did. The reason I did, because I saw some real intensity in Hawkins gripping that bat.
Yes.
What did you see?
Well, what I saw was a little bit of the same, and also looking down to the third base coach several times and just trying to think along with him, and it didn't seem like he was too sure of the sign at first, and then they talked about it, and I guess what it was at any given time, like after that 1 pitch went by, he was going to bunt again. So okay, so anyway, that was the situation right there that I thought that he was going to bunt, and you could really kind of see it in his face. And, of course, Joe, you know where I look up at the hitter and try and see it in his eyes. And anyway, catchers think alike, so I'm glad that you called it the same time I did.
By the way, as both of you were calling the pitch out, it didn't look like a very good pitch out. In fact, it was, from up here, it looked like a bad pitch out.
It really was, Vinny, and it was a buntable pitch. So I'm just glad that the bunt was not on in that situation. And then when it was placed on, it was a high fastball, and those pitches are pretty tough to bunt.
That first home run you hit, Gary, what were you sitting on?
It was a changeup. The first time up with runners on first and second, the first pitch was away, and then he came back with a changeup. And I'll tell you, I was very surprised the third time up, the same thing. There I see on the replay that he's trying to push it foul. But I got it close to the label, and the ball just evened out and stayed fair. But it was a high changeup, and I was really kind of surprised that he came back with it again, especially with the previous at-bat where he got in on me.
You hit a pitcher's mistake. Now I want to ask you, and we're going to show you, did you know your eyes widen up that much? Did you ever see yourself? Watch your eyes.
Not really. I guess that's the intensity, and then when the pitch is coming in, just so I can see that pitch a little bit better, those eyes, oh boy, I didn't realize they got that big.
Vin said you could see all the way to Houston.
Maybe that's what it was, but I'll tell you, if it makes me or helps me to see the ball a little better, then that's all that matters.
Not bad for a guy who's been on the DL to come off Monday and hit 2 home runs today.
Well, I feel like a little kid in a candy store again. Now, those 15 days were probably a blessing in disguise. The good Lord saw it time for me to sit down for a little bit, rest my knee and the rest of my body. And I didn't want to sit on the disabled list. It was kind of a forced rest. And then I was driving Davey and the rest of my teammates crazy on the bench, so it was time to activate me. And I just felt right a part of it again. And I'm just happy to be back in the lineup and looking forward to the rest of September and then on to the playoffs and the dream come true, the World Series.
Well, congratulations on a great day.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it very, very much.
Our guest, Gary Carter, the executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman, the coordinating producer of NBC Baseball, Harry Coyle. Today's Game of the Week produced by Steve Dan, directed by Andy Rosenberg. Pre-game produced by Les Dennis, technical director Len Stucker. And remember, tomorrow on NBC, the NFL season kicks off at 12:30 p.m. with NFL 86.
The Mets today. The Mets coming from behind to beat San Diego. It was the Mets with a new magic number, 8. They won 4-3. The Dodgers beat the Phillies 3-2. This is the bottom of the 6th. Gary Carter against Andy Hawkins in a 3-1 game. The Padres leading, home run number 20 for Carter to cut the lead to 3-2. Then in the 8th inning, the next time Carter's up against Lance McCullers, he gets a high fastball, 4-3 Mets. Orozco wins in relief of Ron Darling. The Phillies lose, magic number for the Mets, 8. In the National League West today, Houston beat St. Louis 7-6 on a Jose Cruz 2-out home run.
Very good ball since the All-Star break. They didn't play good ball before the All-Star break. That's why they trailed by over 20 games. Yes, the Mets go there. You know, the fact that they would win the division has been a foregone conclusion for many, many weeks, but the actual coronation of the Mets as division champs will still be a prize moment. With the magic number of 2, that can be erased with a win in Philadelphia tomorrow night. But more on the Mets a little bit later, and that is because tonight there is a playoff.